So can we post it as the audio and also the video?
That's what we've been doing.
We've been sharing the video too. Okay,
Where
great.
have you been?
Yeah.
Well, I don't
This
know
is
if you know
your
this,
this
but
is this is your brainchild, so come
it's
on.
been it's been a little while since we've done this. So
I'm surprised we're still alive. So
I
yeah.
know we're ready.
But are
All
we?
right. Are we,
Yes, you
Andrew, are you
are.
ready? Brian, you ready? We're good to go. Look, I
I,
actually have
I'm
notes. I'm so
yeah.
excited.
Okay.
Okay, one, two, three. Welcome to Methodist to the Madness, a show about the wacky, cool, wild, and weird things that have happened throughout church history. Like a phoenix rising from the ashes, I'm your youth pastor, Mary Beth.
I'm drinking decaf coffee now. That's how things are going. I'm Andy, lead
Oh,
pastor.
that's awful. And I'm Brian, the cable guy.
Woo!
Woo!
Gentlemen, we're back. Um, Listeners, you may be wondering, where have we been? And the answer is, I want to say we've been spiritually rich, emotionally unstable, and logistically unavailable. Is that fair?
Been a minute. It's
It's been a
been a
minute,
lot. Been a lot. Been a whole lot.
but
Yeah,
we're back,
we're
and
back.
we're better than ever, I dare say.
We're back.
We're
All
back. I don't know about the second part, but we're
Yeah.
back.
right.
For
Well,
the moment.
Yeah, I apologize to the
This
till
might
listeners
our
be
for the
like
next.
one of
next
those.
30 minutes they're
This might be
wasting.
like the Guardians of the Galaxy, like, Christmas special.
And then we're
Or
going to
this,
take another
yeah, or the
unintentional
Star Wars
sabbatical, and y'all
Life
won't
Day
see us again.
episode. Maybe something like that.
I understand. I
Yeah.
understand. This is going to be our 15th episode. So
Woo.
rocking along. I know I forgot we've done that many already. And today
Seems like
I'm
a lot
super,
more,
it feels like a lifetime, doesn't it? It feels like 205. It's not.
at
This
least.
is this is only 15. So we have so much room to go. There's so much to discuss. Today I'm super excited because we're going to be talking about one of my favorite saints, a woman who wrote rude letters to the Pope and
Mm,
lived off of communion wafers only. And she essentially bullied the Catholic Church into functioning.
mm.
And her name is Catherine of Siena.
Oh yeah, Catherine. She's awesome.
She is awesome.
Yeah.
And it's buckle up because things are going to get a little bit gnarly because she was a little bit gnarly in a lot of ways. So this is not going to be a super uplifting episode, I dare say, but it will be educational and hopefully fun. So don't go get a book. We're in the middle of a podcast. Please don't.
If we're gonna be my spirit animal, I'll bring my Eeyore mug.
Okay, good. Yeah, so she is the definition of an Eeyore saint. So this will
Eh,
be fun. This will be great. Now that we have that representation, here we
Nice.
go. All right. Catherine was born in 1347, shockingly, in the town of Siena. She was the
That's weird 'cause that's
23rd.
her last name too.
Isn't that a weird coincidence?
Mhm.
I know. Um, she was the 23rd of 25 children.
Okay.
Yeah,
Woo.
let's
Got a
let that
full
settle in
offense
for a
and
minute.
defense there.
Yeah.
25 kids. Her
Yeah.
entire early life then was shaped by like scarcity and plague and trying to be noticed in a house where you were statistically indistinguishable from background noise,
What
I
what where
imagine.
did she what number was she? She was 23 out of 25?
23,
Okay.
23 of
Wow.
25.
Parents were tired, man.
Yeah,
Tired.
I don't know how it sounds like she was in an orphanage and not like a real household.
Oh,
So I don't
And the thing
know.
is too, like back in the day, like you had a lot of potential miscarriages. So like
Right.
that mom was pregnant more than probably 25 times.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's a lot.
yeah,
It's
they
a
used to
lot.
have a situation. They used to have a service in the Wesley talked about this. It was called the Mothering Sunday or something. It was a Sunday that was reserved for 8 weeks after the birth of a child, where you
Hmm.
came to worship to celebrate the fact that you were still alive.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I
A
think it's
lot of
called.
kids didn't
I
get
think
named
yeah,
till like year one
yeah.
because of that.
There are orders of worship in books of common prayer in the time of Wesley that had liturgy for Mothering Sunday. Yeah,
Wow.
so good times.
Do you guys think that in today's world they would get their own TLC show if they had 25 kids?
Absolutely. Oh my
I think they
gosh. People would
did.
make money off that.
I
Yeah.
think that was a show, wasn't
Well, but you had John and Kate plus eight, and then you had the Duggar. So yeah,
it? Yeah,
25
19
kids,
kids and
definitely.
counting, and that
yeah.
didn't go too well, but yeah.
Yeah, I think okay. Um, all right, stop. All right, don't distract me. Okay, by the age of 6, Catherine started having mystical visions,
Hmm.
allegedly. By adolescence, she had made a vow of chastity and refused all attempts at marriage. Like they
Hmm.
tried to set her up a couple times, and she said nay, nay. And one of my favorite things is she was like, "I'm already spoken for by Jesus,"
There you go.
um, which is there was kind of a resurgence of this mentality back in the 90s
I
of
bet that was a
like,
good proposal from Jesus.
that's what I'm saying. Like there was, you could only,
Mhm.
I'm dating God. Like
Yeah.
this wedding ring, I'm not engaged. I'm engaged to the
See,
Lord.
you're talking to a guy who went to college back
Right.
when the I kissed 80 goodbye thing was all the rage. Made
I know.
for
How was that?
it made for a great college experience.
I bet.
When every girl's dating Jesus, makes for a
Yeah.
great college experience.
I know at your Baptist college. Yeah. Yeah, I bet. I
Josh
bet. I bet.
Harris, who's
Did
now
you not go to a
deacon.
Baptist college?
I also went to Baptist
Yeah.
college, but
Did
at the
I
end of
not
the
go
day,
to
yeah,
Baptist college?
Was
it
it
was all
Josh
just
Harris who wrote
John
that
Brown.
book? I think, and isn't he now like in the grifting of like deconstruct? Like he's now take give me $400 and I'll tell you how to not be a Christian anymore, or something like that.
Something like that. He came back and said, "Yeah, that was dumb, huh? I can't believe I said that."
Yeah. Now give me
Anyway,
$400 more.
yeah, give me your
Yeah.
money.
You've already given me money. Now give me more money.
Hey, I told you dating was wrong and sinful and also smooching, so please pay me money and
That's
I'm
right.
sorry.
That's right.
Yeah.
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 Fixing the
Um,
problem you caused and
That's
while
right.
charging for the problem you caused.
I want to
It's
start
called,
doing
it's
that.
called
Every time you
alternative
want me to fix the mess that I made, you're gonna have to pay me to do it.
alternative revenue.
I'm not,
I mean,
I'm not gonna do it.
you gotta figure it out somehow.
Mm.
So eventually, our girl Catherine joined the Dominican Third Order, which allowed her to wear a habit and live a spiritual life without having to move to a convent. So she wasn't, and we have this misconception as Protestants that if you're a nun, then you're living in a convent, which is
Mhm.
not true. There was a
That's right.
time period where they didn't have to live cloistered together. Okay. So she, much like Andy wears his collar everywhere
Mhm.
out in the community, Catherine did that. And she spent several years, before kind of going into the community, she spent several years in complete silence and prayer. And generously, we could call it extreme spiritual introversion.
Mhm.
It was to the point of reclusiveness. But just as quickly as she retreated, she emerged. And in her 20s, her early 20s, she became this public figure who was offering spiritual direction and nursing plague victims and dictating hundreds of letters while in what we would call today a trance state. Okay. So she was having these mystical revelations and was also working overtime trying to take care of people that were in the middle of this horrible, horrible plague outbreak.
13th century.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay.
So it's hard to overstate like the shift though of
When
like
was
one moment
Julia?
Julia of
Norwich.
Norwich.
Yeah.
I don't
Would they be
know.
contemporaries?
I don't think that they were contemporaries,
I
but
don't
I
either.
can look.
I just want,
I don't know that either.
because when you said trance, like divine moment,
Hey,
and then,
there was overlap because
yeah,
she was born in 1342.
I wondered.
Catherine was born in 1347. So
I
yeah,
thought they
very
were
Okay.
close
going to be
together.
contemporaries. I
That was
felt
a
like,
good era for female saints, huh?
listen, if you want to know your female saints, you come to me.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So, one moment she was fasting alone in a room, and then the next she was advising heads of state. So her ascension into like as a public figure and a trusted spiritual advisor was really dramatic, and it happened seemingly overnight. Um, and her life of service and care um, extended to political spheres. Okay, so she wasn't just writing letters to heads of state. She wasn't just dictating letters in this like trance of like this is what the Lord says and that kind of thing. She was writing interventions
Mhm.
and was being very vocal with Pope Gregory at the time to stop hiding out in France and return to Rome. And she called him a spiritual failure,
So
which
she was simply a member of the monastic order. She wasn't a prioress. She wasn't in charge
yeah,
of
she
it,
wouldn't.
correct? She
She
was
wasn't. No, 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 no,
she
no.
was a simple sister, correct?
She was a sister, yeah.
Wow, that's
Just a
bold.
simple sister.
That's
Yeah,
bold.
Yeah.
I know. And so she wrote to the Pope who had been in Avignon
Hmm.
and
The
she
anti-popes, I believe.
yes, and
Yeah.
she yes, and so she wrote to him and her tone was not subtle. She called his clergy putrid flowers.
Oh, I'm called that
Um
all the time, every day.
which is like she like that's the 14th version
Yeah.
like 14th century version of being like you suck and you
Yeah.
smell like dog buns and
Hmm.
I don't like you at all. And she just had zero interest in politeness and she had work to do and she felt like God had things to say. And so she had no problem writing to the pope and
Hmm.
saying you need to get your tail back to Rome.
The vicar of Christ, the Bishop of Rome.
She did not care. She did not care. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
The political
go ahead.
climate in that time, I'm thinking back about history brain, it was very, very fractured. It was the city-state situation in Italy. And I think there were more than one, quote, Western Pope at the
Hmm.
time or
I
in that
think there
area.
was the Pope in France and the Pope there was I believe there was a Pope in Rome as well. I
Hmm.
believe there were two
Mhm.
popes at that time.
So yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
Pope
thinking it's a
Gregory was one
very
of them.
Hmm.
chaotic time politically. So
Yeah.
it's interesting. I think she was politically charged, but there were probably other politically charged people at the time too, I would imagine.
And we also have to take into consideration that this was during the time when the plague was rampant. And so,
Yeah.
for context
Yeah.
for us, like it's COVID, but times a
We
thousand.
Yeah. And
were
if I
calm in
think
COVID.
if I,
We talk about that. We handled COVID fine.
yeah.
What do you talk about?
Well, I think if I remember correctly, there was even talk that like France, the King of France, had kidnapped the Pope.
Mm,
So was the
Yeah, there
Pope,
was all sorts of
yeah. So was
weird
the Pope
rumors.
under, and that's always the weird thing with the papacy and the Vatican City. And I mean, so is the Pope in the Middle Ages? Is he the vicar of Christ or is he a head of state?
right.
Yes, he's both.
Both. It was
Yeah.
both.
And so
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
complicates things greatly because which pope are you dealing with? Are you dealing with the guy who has the one of the biggest armies in Europe? Or are you dealing with the humble servant of Christ? And so that's that,
Hmm.
and I remember it was from my church history. It was a weird, very weird season because of I think it was if I remember correctly the pope being in Europe in France rather was seen as more of a political thing than definitely a religious thing. And
Yeah.
so both sides were calling the other side the Antichrist in some ways. So it's not at all really striking to me that Catherine would have unleashed some pretty, you know, harsh language at the Pope. I mean, it's surprising to me that a simple sister would do that because that was not her place. So that's what's
Right.
Right.
quite bold that she did that.
Right.
Yeah.
And yeah, and she was so young too. I mean,
Hmm.
like she just didn't care who he was or
Yeah.
what he represented. Um, So, doing because one of the running gags on the show for any new listeners is that this is like poorly researched church history.
Hmm.
We're we're kind of here for the vibe and the big idea, not for like this is not like my class at Duke with uh Dr. Portier Young. Okay, like this is not super detailed, but I will say this: I'm digging into Gregory some. He actually tried to undertake a crusade too. So this was a period we're in the middle of like
Hmm.
crusades, and we're in the middle of plague, and we're in the middle of tension between France and Rome, and so Gregory actually was the Pope of Avignon,
Hmm.
and she wanted him to go back to Rome. Okay, so he had moved from Avignon to Rome, and he was there for a while, and then he moved back to Avignon, and that ticked Catherine off because she said you need to be in Rome
Hmm.
with which is where the Pope is supposed to be. And she wrote to him 14 letters. So between 1375 and 1378, until the year he died, up until some scholars say the month that he died, she was writing him letters telling him, get your tail back to Rome, okay? And she was begging for things like peace and church reform. And she wanted the papacy to be centrally located in Rome, and
Hmm.
she didn't want there to be a division between them anymore.
Hmm.
And she said it's easy to achieve your goal of peace among the city states in Italy by expanding the influence of the papal states if the papacy was back in Rome. And so she was constantly talking about these political strategies and things for the advancement of the church, um, while also doing her job as a minister during this time. Okay, which leads us to we're going to talk about sitting with the dying, nursing the
Hmm.
sick, offering spiritual care to people that no one else would. And we're gonna come to a part in her story that would it's gonna gross you out.
Okay.
But I like to call it the
Try
pus.
us. Try us.
It's called the pus incident, is what we're gonna
Mm,
call it.
okay.
Okay. So, um, context: when the plague was so rampant in Siena, she would nurse them all day, like 5 a.m. until late into the night. She was up nursing and taking care of plague victims, and she was in these sick houses, tending to. Did you guys see that someone there was a plague victim like earlier in the
Yeah, like
month
in Arizona or
Yeah.
something.
in
It,
Yeah.
Arizona? This
yes,
guy
Arizona.
had the plague.
Yeah.
And then when I read the article, they're like, "Oh, so many people die of the plague every
Yeah.
year in your country. It's a low number." But I'm like, I didn't even know this was still going on.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then,
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I
it
think it's
is.
rat. Is it rats? Yeah, it's all around. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
So I wanted to briefly, I'm going to touch on symptoms of plague victims. Okay.
Okay.
Um, fun stuff, really good
Mm,
stuff.
yeah.
Swollen lymph nodes the size of chicken eggs.
That's
Okay.
fun.
Okay.
And those can happen in the groin, the armpit, or the neck.
Hmm.
Fever, chills, headache, fatigue, muscle aches, cough with blood,
Hmm.
diarrhea, nausea, vomiting, delirium,
Mm, that's
and
fun.
uh and pain in the abdomen.
You know what the best thing about the plague was? Is the mask that the doctors wore. Those are cool
Yeah,
masks. We should bring
the
those
Oh
back.
beaks.
yeah.
You know,
Why
you
did
know,
they
I
come
you,
up
thought
with like the beak looking
yeah, you
mask
know what?
thing?
So they thought it was something. It was they thought it was because of um, it was you breathed it in. So they actually, I think
Hmm.
the mask is something to do to kind of basically to keep you from breathing it in. I think, or it could have been demons. I don't know, one or the other.
I thought that when COVID hit, we were going to get to resurrect the plague mask, and that was a little bit. That was fun. That would have
That
been
would,
fun.
yeah, a plague mask would
Well,
have been
people
fun.
made their
You
own
know.
masks for the first month that were
Hmm.
fun looking at,
Right. And so
milk jugs,
that could have milk jugs is crazy. That could have been a fun twist, but we didn't do that. Um, at certain points, the plague could turn to septicemic
Hmm.
plague, which you would have bleeding into the skin and other organs. I don't know what
Mm,
that means, if that's what it says. Skin and other
fun.
tissues may turn black and die on
Hmm.
fingers, toes, and the
Hmm.
nose. So, and it's obviously we all know this. It's highly, highly, highly contagious.
Hmm.
Okay. And so Catherine was in the middle
Hmm.
of all of this, and it's a miracle that she never got it.
Hmm.
It's literally a miracle
Hmm.
by the grace of God that she never got the plague. Um, so we have this woman who is tending to these people as well as you can. I don't know what healthcare looked like in the 13th century,
A
but
lot of
it
leeches. A lot of leeches.
leeches and maybe like semi-clean water as opposed to dirty, nasty water that they had access to. I don't know. I don't know
Hmm.
what she had going on. But we do know that there's a story written about her caretaking of a particular woman, and it's her confessor Raymond of Capua. All right, or Capua? How do you say that? Capua, like like Capuchin monkeys?
yes.
Okay, whatever. So, Raymond, confessor of the Capuchin monkeys, writes in his journal that Catherine was caring for this woman. And excellent. You're ready.
Well,
I
I
wish
feel
it
like
was
it's
more
coming.
beaky. My only critique is that it could be a little beakier, but we could work with it.
I also had a face shielding down here I was looking for too, but that didn't have. I don't know where it is.
Hmm.
A
So,
face shield
but
is
I'm
crazy
ready.
work.
I'm ready, guys. Bring it. All right.
Okay. So, she was caring for this woman who had the plague, and because she had the plague, she had sores all over her body. And she was an older woman, and according to Raymond, she was extremely hostile, and she was unkind, and she was uncharitable. Hello, me. I get like that when I'm just slightly inconvenienced. I cannot imagine how hostile I would be if I had
Hmm.
the plague. Um, and Catherine is tending to her wounds, and she's trying to nurse her, and she's taking care of her, and she finds herself repulsed
Hmm.
by this woman. Like she's actively gagged out. And I don't know if you guys know this, but necrotic flesh don't smell good.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this woman has sores over her body. She reeks. It's already the
Hmm.
13th century. So like everyone's smelly. It's a rotten, stinky, nasty time. And Catherine is fairly grossed the heck out. And she didn't want to be grossed out. She felt bad that
Hmm.
she was grossed out. And she said, I need to be able to connect with this woman and love
Hmm.
this woman because Jesus is in this woman and God
Hmm.
is in this woman.
Hmm.
So, how do I do that? Well, she does what any ordinary emotionally regulated person would. And she collected the pus from the wound
Hmm.
into a bowl. So she drained the pus from the abscess
Hmm.
into a bowl, and then she dropped some water in it. Hang in there, Brian. And then she
I think I'm gonna vomit my mask, so I'm gonna take my
she
mask off.
she drank it right down, sucked it
There
right
you
up.
go. Yeah.
And so
I think they do that at like elementary camps. It's like a gag get for
you
the
drank
kids. Yeah.
drink other kids' pus.
Yeah.
Yeah, poor Brian. Yeah, so she I told you it was gonna be bad. So she drank this woman's pus,
Hmm.
okay?
Did it work?
And according to Raymond, she said it was the sweetest thing she had ever tasted.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I
what
mean,
I'm
it's
going
on
to
WebMD to drink pus for health reasons. So,
we're not doing that. So,
Yeah.
the point is, whether this really happened or not, this is what I find interesting. Um, Catherine believed that love meant lowering yourself.
Well, if you were to take that story and compare it with some of the stories of the martyrs the first few centuries, they would talk about how they were singing in the flames as they were being lit
Mm,
on fire, or they were standing against the lion. It was, I think it was one saint who the lions refused to eat them, like they were so holy. So
mm,
you do see this common theme in among the saints and martyrs of the church and church history, where how these situations that would be otherwise repulsive, deadly, painful, are transformed to, you know, almost blessings. So the
mm,
sweetest thing she said, she's saying the stories of, like the saints singing as the flames are burning them alive. Um, it is an extreme form of James, where James says, "Count it all joy, my brothers and sisters, when you face all types of trials and persecutions." I mean, I think it's C.S. Lewis that says, there will be troubles. Christ promised us that.
mm.
When you read the Sermon on the Mount, that's
Yeah.
why I think we live in the age of the prosperity gospel, which is really hard to reconcile with the actual teachings of Jesus, which are
Mm.
basically like, hey, they're going to mock you and beat you up and spit upon you, and nobody's going to like you.
Yeah.
So just get ready. And when
But
they
it's this
speak, when they
idea.
speak ill of you, remember they spoke ill of me first.
Right. Father Richard Ward talks, I know he can kind of be controversial or whatever,
Sure.
but he has this line where God loves things by becoming them. And
Hmm.
so, like,
Yeah.
yes to all of
It's
that,
the
but
incarnation.
also,
That's the incarnation.
adding on to that is
Yeah.
this idea that, like, she wanted to not be repulsed by this woman and she wanted to see Jesus within this woman.
Well,
And so she wanted to become her
so
a little bit in
so
some
so so
way.
so think of it. What would not? I mean, God loves humanity, but God lowering Himself,
Exactly.
Right.
It's
the
love means
divine God
lowering
of
yourself.
creation, lowering Himself to conversate
Came
with
down from
us.
his throne and put on human
Yeah.
flesh.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
It's
the creation
radically
that He created
uncomfortable.
killed Him.
Yeah. Yeah. And it is so counter to our own sense of
Hmm.
comfort and our own sense of like
Hmm.
security. Um, but love comes down to the things that we find repulsive, and
Hmm.
love gets into
Well,
the
hey, I've said before, one of the surest ways to know you're a new parent is whenever you're in a restaurant and your child spits up and your first impulse is to catch it.
Yeah.
mm,
Yeah, you just instinctively reach out to catch the vomit
yeah,
that your child has
yeah,
just
yeah,
expelled. Every parent has done that. You know,
mm.
Hmm.
something changes inside of you, and you're like, well, I mean, I don't want to make a mess here. So something that you would have never dreamed of doing 10 years previous, you're now doing in the middle of Chick-fil-A.
And
I had a kid
Catherine,
throw up my face, so
Yeah,
there's that too.
yeah,
That was awesome.
okay, well, so
yeah.
did you feel holy? Because that's what makes Catherine holy is like the repulsive and the macabre and the
I think I
dark
blacked
and
out
the
at that point.
grotesque.
I don't know what happened.
Well, okay. Hey, but think about this. I mean, okay, so how's that different than modern care? Okay, I'll tell you a story. When my mom was ill for 14 months before she passed, I went down and I cared for her many on my days off. And there were days that I had to do things that were difficult,
Mm,
as anyone has with a bed bound, somebody that's bedbound. And I remember talking to my wife one day, and I said, I think I find more purpose in this than anything else I'm doing in my life right now.
exactly.
Because it does become transformative.
Hmm.
It does. It becomes transformative to care for someone else that you love. And you
Mm,
find yourself finding purpose in that, and understanding that our comfort is a false God.
yeah.
And I don't mean it as an idol per se, because I think an idol is something we give our allegiance to. I don't know that
Yeah.
we give our allegiance to comfort, but we think that our comfort is what we really desire. And so we
Mm,
live comfortable lives with comfortable houses, with comfortable children. And then anytime that comfort is disturbed, we rage.
mm,
I mean, the God of our age is comfort.
mhm.
Um, I think of one of my quotes by Lewis that I love so much about giving. Lewis says there should be things we should very much like to do, but we cannot do it because our charitable giving is too high.
Mm,
And that's not what we do. That's not how we orient ourselves in an affluent society.
right.
Charity is the tack on at the end. Spirituality becomes the tack on at the end.
Like that's the icing on the cake.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah,
not
yeah.
the
That's
cake itself. Yeah.
it's the lagniappe. It's what we have and everything's left over.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of being the center of what we're doing. And so I think sometimes we feel spiritually malnourished because we aren't actually digging into something deep and worthwhile.
Mm,
you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Mm.
that's good. That's
Yeah.
good. And I think that is the point of Catherine's life is that
Mm-hmm.
to articulate that we are so insignificant in the face of eternity,
Mm-hmm.
and there are so many people that need radical love and
Mm-hmm.
care. And so how should we be caring for people that are on the margins of life? How should we
Yeah.
be caring for people that are suffering?
Yeah.
Um, and I what's the Wesley quote? I know y'all will know this. He cared so much about the poor. Um, earn all you can, save all you can, but then give all
Mhm.
you can.
Oh,
Right?
that's October's sermon series.
Yeah,
It's one of the series.
Right.
So Wesley wrote a sermon called "On the Use of Money," or called "The Use of Money," and
yeah.
he said the three things that Methodists should do. In fact, one of my favorite little historical things is um, Wesley said, "Earn all you can by any legal means, save all you can, but then give all you can." Wesley said, "If I die with 1 pound in my pocket, I've robbed God." Is what he said.
Mhm.
In fact, there's a famous quote that people love to trot out about the Methodist Church, where Wesley said, I do not fear that there will ever cease to be a people called Methodist, but I fear that they will be a dead sect, having the trappings of religion, but not the power therein," which is people say. But if you were to keep reading the quote, Wesley says the things that will cause these Methodists to lose their doctrine and discipline will be these rich so-called Methodists.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Well, and so there's a historic theory that's debated, probably not true. It's called the Halvey thesis. It's one of my favorite theories about Wesley, and I don't know that it actually holds up to scrutiny, but it makes sense intellectually. If you look at the time of Wesley's ministries, the late 1780s, now England had a share of revolutions, but if you look at the time of Wesley's ministry, 1750s, 1780s, roughly, the one country that doesn't have revolution is England. Now
Yeah.
they have the American Revolution,
Yeah.
but there's no revolution in England. While you have the continent aflame with revolution, you have the North American continent with a flame revolution, South American continent of flame revolution. You don't see an actual revolution taking care of England. And Halvey's thesis was this: Wesley created the middle class in England
Mhm.
by earning all you can and saving all you can. He actually, and then doing things like free clinics for those that are sick,
Because it's not
schools.
just about money. It's
No, no,
like
no.
giving what you can time
Yeah,
service. Yeah.
exactly. So schools, things like that. But
Yeah.
what happened is the Methodists began to earn and save, but not give as much as they ought to. So that actually created a middle class, if you will, which
Hmm.
then stabilized England. So we
Yeah.
know Wesley would see that as so what you see is because the Methodists became affluent. About 40 years later, what do you have? William Jennings Booth, the founder of the Salvation Army, that says you Methodists have gotten too complacent. So
Mm.
you were a reforming movement. Now I'm going to reform you and start the Salvation Army.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So Reformation always comes.
Right.
Mm.
Reformation always
Right.
comes.
Yeah.
So,
And
but yeah,
I
it is in the giving to others of our time, talent, gifts, resources, witness that we
Yeah.
are
And
transformed.
that reminds me, St. Francis of Assisi said, we've been called to heal wounds, to unite what has fallen apart, and to bring home those who have lost their way. And that's just what the church is supposed to do. That's what Christians are supposed to do. Heal wounds, unite
Hmm.
people who've lost their way, and be there for people. Shifting gears a little bit, I want to talk about the flip side of caretaking and the flip side
Hmm.
of ministry in general. Um, Catherine speaks so deeply to not just burnout, but to all the
Hmm.
ways that we sacrifice ourselves on the altar of other people sometimes.
Hmm.
Um, so her relationship with food was fraught. She
Hmm.
fasted obsessively
Hmm.
and she refused to eat anything that wasn't the Eucharist. She
Hmm.
rejected the idea of nourishment, and so
Hmm.
she only ate communion wafers.
Hmm.
And
Which
she
which are delicious.
well, who knows what it was like back then, but
Yeah.
like when she was told to eat, she said food made her sick. And when doctors intervened, she ignored them. And so in her mind, food wasn't just physical, it was spiritual, and eating was a weakness, and hunger was devotion. And so we actually have a woman who was deeply sick with anorexia.
Hmm.
And to the point where this disordered eating led to her death at the age of 33,
Hmm.
which is actually the age of Christ when he died as
Hmm.
well. Um, so I just we would be remiss not to talk about
Hmm.
the ways that we can let ourselves suffer in the face
Hmm.
of trying to heal other suffering too. Um, And there's, I mean, because there is something familiar in this story, right? If you've ever been
Mhm.
in ministry or nonprofit work, or even in any situation where compassion is expected without limit.
If you've ever raised a child raising it while caring for older parents.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we serve until we collapse,
Hmm.
right? I mean, that's kind of like the mentality, and we love until we disappear. Almost. That's what Catherine did, you know. She gave until there was nothing left to give, and then she kept going.
Hmm.
And her passion's extraordinary, but I think it leaves us with questions like, when does devotion become destructive?
Hmm.
Or when does faithfulness become erasure?
Hmm.
Or uh, if God never asked us, like, God has never asked us to hollow ourselves out, so why do we feel the need to do it?
Hmm.
Right. So I think that Catherine reminds us that service is sacred, but also that our bodies matter and our mental health matters, and the way that we take care of our bodies is important. And burnout isn't bravery.
Hmm.
Like, you don't get a badge of courage just because you are burning out, right? Sometimes holiness looks like rest.
Hmm. Yeah, that's right. And
Yeah.
that is a difficult thing to do. It is,
Yeah.
particularly if you're oriented to it, you know. I mean, anyone who knows me knows this is not an issue that I can really speak to because I'm only 23 years old and look how young I look.
You just exude
I,
an
I, re-
energy and
I reek youthful
youthfulness.
vitality, don't I?
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Um,
Yeah.
speaking of
well, I mean,
oozing,
it's kind of like you, Mary Beth, when you're talking about you don't earn a badge. I always remember my wife, who was a labor and delivery nurse for like 20 years. Uh, Patients were going to come in and they want to go all natural. That was their plan, and she supported them in that. But as it got on, it became painful, and there were a lot of people who were like debating, maybe I don't, maybe I need the epidural, maybe I need the epidural, and that was her phrase. She always told them, say, hey, look. I'm here to support you to go natural, if you want to get epidural, whatever, but you don't get a badge for going natural.
Right.
So if you're in pain and you need relief, don't be
We'll
ashamed of
support.
that.
That's
Don't
right.
don't be
Amen.
ashamed of that. You do what you need to do. We'll push through without it. But if you want an epidural, that's great because there's no badge you're going to get at the end of this. You're going to get a child. The
Right.
results what matters.
and this
Right.
is this is the debate. Like me and Tim Rigby, our music minister, talk about this a lot. This is the constant debate going back to Jesus' time of Mary versus Martha.
Mm.
Martha sat at Jesus' feet, and I'm sorry, Mary sat at Jesus' feet, and Jesus told Martha, she's chosen the better thing. And boy, doesn't that feel good? Except without Martha, we don't eat.
Right.
And so
Right. Yeah.
sometimes Martha needs to sit down at the feet of Jesus, and sometimes Mary needs to get up and help.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And so,
We
like
need both, but it's
for
balance.
someone like a Martha, I'm a Martha, I'm not a Mary, I'm a Martha. I mean, I'm gonna work myself to
Hustle,
death.
yeah.
I mean, that's just what I'm gonna do.
Hmm.
That's my orientation, it's my wiring. I can't. I wish I could turn it off, but I can't.
Hmm.
Um, and so what happens is then you see things so Marthas worry about what's gonna happen if things don't happen, and then sometimes we do it to ourselves because we don't give people a chance to step up.
Hmm.
In the life of the church. But then again, too, things got to get done. It's a delicate balance. We all need to. That's why I think things like accountability are good,
Yeah.
so that um, one of the questions I had a mentor of mine give me a tongue lashing last week for not taking more vacation time. You know, I'm like, well, I can't right now because of family circumstance. But you're right. You're not wrong. I acknowledge what you're saying. Just I don't know how to fix it right now. And so within that, I appreciate that I have people in my life who will speak into me. And I think we all need people in our life to speak into when we devolve into our preferences instead of living into our calling.
Hmm.
And I think
Well,
that's a big, and reminding everybody that John Wesley was big on accountability.
mhm.
Mm.
And so I think as Methodists, that's one thing that we live into and we should also promote is that, you need accountability. You need people to speak into you when they say you're not taking enough vacation time, or
Yeah,
hey, you eating communion wafers
yeah,
may not be the best idea
Right.
for
You
your
can't
only
live off of bread
diet.
alone.
Right. Right. While
Yeah.
we talk about this balance and how you don't get a badge for suffering and all that, you do want people to be devoted, make sacrifices, but also you need that accountability of like, wait a minute, that may not be what God is
Healthy.
truly calling you
Yeah,
to do.
but Wesley did want his preachers to die early at 30, so
Well,
So our boy JW has some weak spots there too.
he does have a weak spot there,
Yeah.
and I guess Andy, you and I have failed him, but Mary Beth, you're
Yeah,
not
you still
There's
30.
got
still
you
hope.
still
I'm
got
up. Yeah.
yeah.
There's still
That's right.
time
You
for me to
still
go
could
out in a blaze
you
of
still could die the next
holy
year.
glory.
Yeah.
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 Yeah,
Okay.
make him proud.
I like how that just went dark,
Yeah.
just all of a sudden.
It's kind of well, it is dark. Catherine's life is
Yeah.
kind of dark.
Mhm.
All right. Questions, comments, anything else we want to add?
I'm surprised we lasted this long for the
Yeah.
first time back in
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah.
I'm proud of us. I think we've done good. This is let's go outside the podcast just for a minute. It's just the three of us. How do we think this episode has gone so far? What do we
I
think?
don't know.
It's almost over, so that's
It's
a
almost
win.
over, so we've done
Yep.
it. Like
That's
we
right.
got to the
Check
end.
it off the
Yeah.
list. Move on.
We didn't
Yeah.
chase rabbits, I don't think.
We didn't. We got to tie that. We got to
Pretty
tie it
close
out
to-
though. So
Yeah, we okay. All right. All right. So whether you're writing letters to the Pope or just trying to survive a church budget meeting without abandoning the faith entirely, friends, may you remember your worth is not measured by your output. You were not called to vanish, and God is not glorified by your collapse. Guys, I hope that you remember that you are loved and that you matter. And as the great theologian Catherine of Siena once said, be who God meant you to be, and you will set the world on fire. We'll see you next time.
all right.
Bye.
See you in about 6 months to a year.
Woo!